Welcome to this course on Wi-Fi penetration testing. This course is an introductory course in Wi-Fi penetration testing. It introduces you to wireless systems and Wi-Fi systems in particular, followed by security and Wi-Fi security. Then goes through various information about Wi-Fi security to help you to understand Wi-Fi security. Unlike wireline systems, wireless systems have certain additional security related challenges. For example, because wireless is an inherently broadcast medium, so it's a bit more difficult. It's not impossible, but there are those challenges, and it's good to be aware of those challenges when trying to design security for wireless systems. Various security mechanisms will be looked into, and these include things like WEP, WPA, both PSK or personal mode, and enterprise mode. Now, it turns out that Wi-Fi security historically has been very weak. There are reasons for that, so it is another sub-objective then within this objective of understanding Wi-Fi security, where we would be giving some reasons why this was the case. And another thing that we'll look into then is vulnerabilities and then exploits related to Wi-Fi security. Because for you to be able to do Wi-Fi penetration testing, you need to understand the vulnerabilities of Wi-Fi systems and how they are exploited. This understanding of exploits will not be just purely theoretical, but also practical. So considerable time will be spent to demonstrate various practical exploits that can be done on Wi-Fi systems. And these will be using certain hardware equipment, software equipment, and so on. And these will be covered in the videos later on. Besides understanding Wi-Fi security, we want to understand, as mentioned, how to exploit Wi-Fi system vulnerabilities. There are certain principles behind these exploitations, and so we will cover these and the related theory of what's going on, because we don't want you to be just some kind of like script kiddie, just running scripts without understanding what's happening. The problem with being a pure script kiddie with a limited understanding of what's happening is that whenever there's some change, something a bit different, something unexpected, you might have trouble coping with that. So once you understand the principles and the theory, then when there's some changes, for example, the Wi-Fi access points might start using certain defense mechanisms. Let's say against WPS, we will see that certain defense mechanisms have evolved over time. Then you will be better able to deal with these unexpected defense mechanisms and perhaps find ways around them as well. So you can be creative even while using these tools that we will show you. And of course, so we will show the tools as part of the course. I would be trying to cover the various topics and the tools from a view of trying to help you to understand what really is happening, rather than just giving like certain recipes that you don't understand. This will best equip you to deal with whatever variations, whatever changes you might encounter when you're actually attempting these exploits. Now, I should mention also that you have to be careful about what is legal or what's not legal, and generally in many countries you need permission from the owner of the Wi-Fi network in order to be using some of these tools and doing some of these things that we'll be showing. And then besides looking at the tools, then on the other side, the third major objective will be to understand how to best protect Wi-Fi systems. You don't just want to break into them. The reason for the penetration testing, after all, is to help the organization that's deploying this Wi-Fi system to better understand weaknesses in the system and then how they can strengthen the security of the system. So eventually we'll end up with seeing and understanding why WPA2 Enterprise is the best way to secure Wi-Fi systems. In practice, there are even if you're using WPA2 Enterprise, there are different ways of going about it because it reuses things that are more general, so things like EAP, Extensible Authentication Protocol. And EAP is so flexible, it can be used with certain weak authentication protocols. It also could be used without end-to-end encryption. So there are certain ways of using EAP that are recommended and are stronger. Now, having said that, WPA2 Enterprise is not always practical because not many people know how to set up a Radius server. So we do have a secondary recommendation, and if WPA2 Enterprise is overkill for a particular organization, WPA2 PSK is still okay. It's not as secure, and we'll see why. But the main thing is a strong password. So it should be something that's basically impossible to find in any of the word lists that might be out there, or even combinations or variations of words in word lists. And then turn off WPS. Never use it. And also never use WEP. So having seen these three objectives then, which is understanding Wi-Fi security, understanding how to exploit Wi-Fi system vulnerabilities, and then understanding how to best protect Wi-Fi systems, these three objectives then will become like three legs of a table, and that will be your ability to perform Wi-Fi penetration testing. So that enables you to do the penetration testing and then to write appropriate reports and make recommendations based on the information you get here and also related information that you should be able to then find out on your own. We continued the introduction of this course by giving an overview of what we'll be covering. Well, firstly, just to say a few words about penetration testing in general and Wi-Fi penetration testing. The main idea, we had talked about objectives in the previous video. So the main thing is that we want to help improve the security of Wi-Fi systems. And that's why we're going through all of these details and information. And that's why we demonstrate the breaking of weak security mechanisms, kind of learning by doing. So it's not just, as I mentioned in the previous video, it's not just about running certain scripts without understanding. So not just blindly running certain scripts, but to understand principles and what's behind it, so that in case you come across any problems, you know how to deal with them, hopefully, or you can Google to deal with them. And at the same time, so on the one hand, it's about demonstrating that maybe your client hires you to do Wi-Fi penetration testing, and you demonstrate that they might have certain flaws in their deployment. So the passphrase, let's say, is something that you can retrieve using some of these techniques, and then you can recommend stronger security mechanisms, ways that make it almost impossible, practically speaking, to break their system to get access. Now, talking about breaking in and getting passphrases and doing things in a system, there are certain legal implications, of course, doing Wi-Fi penetration testing or any penetration testing in general. So this is something where you should consult your lawyer for legal advice. This course is definitely not providing legal advice, just some general information and technical information. So just very broadly speaking, in most countries, it's illegal to be accessing Wi-Fi systems that you are not authorized to access. So even if you say, well, my neighbor didn't secure their system, there was no password, it was just open, doors were wide open, I just walked in, I used that system, you could be legally in the wrong, because there might be laws against it. So it's best to check. I am Daniel Wong, and I'll be presenting this course. I have a PhD in electrical engineering. Now you might say, well, how is electrical engineering related to that? Well, wireless communications has a lot of interesting electrical engineering related topics and areas. How wireless signals get through the air and from transmitter to receiver and so on. So that's where electrical engineering comes in, but it's there's also the computer science aspects as well. And I have many years of experience in wireless systems and teaching wireless systems. I also have various certifications such as the WCP from IEEE, Cisco CCNP. It might have expired sometime. I need to. I'm not claiming that it's still unexpired. And then I'm involved in various IEEE activities as well. That's Institute of Electrical and Electronics Engineering. IEEE is the organization that created the standards for Wi-Fi systems, in particular IEEE 802.11. The course outline is as follows. The beginning part of the course will provide background information on wireless systems. There are many different kinds of wireless systems, so it kind of helps to know where Wi-Fi systems fit into the whole universe of wireless systems that are out there. We want to know the different characteristics compared with other wireless systems, so that gives us some perspective and context for talking about Wi-Fi systems. Then we go into talking more specifically about Wi-Fi systems, the different variations, the frequency bands and things, especially where it relates to things that we would be needing to understand in order to better appreciate what we do in penetration testing of Wi-Fi systems. So, for example, we talk about things like monitor mode, which might often not be described in some general course on Wi-Fi, unless we're talking about Wi-Fi security and having certain capabilities from things like monitor mode. There will be some brief introduction and coverage of network security principles and practice, but this is by itself a very broad area, so we wouldn't be able to get into a lot of detail there either. Again, we focus on aspects that then are related to things that we will be doing in terms of the practical demonstrations. And so just like our coverage of Wi-Fi systems, also we'll pick aspects that are especially relevant to the rest of the course. We will continue talking about the outline in the next video, but particularly about some of these Wi-Fi security systems that are found in Wi-Fi systems.